1976 was America's bicentennial year. The nation celebrated 200 years of independence with fireworks, festivals, and fantastic music. The charts that year were filled with variety: disco, rock, soft pop, and everything in between. But not every artist who topped the charts that year managed to do it twice. Some had one magical moment and then faded away. These are 10 one-hit wonders that turned 50 this year, hits from 1976. Number 10. A Fifth of Beethoven by Walter Murphy. Walter Murphy was a classically trained pianist who studied at the Manhattan School of Music. He'd been working as an arranger for Doc Severinsen's Tonight Show Orchestra and writing advertising jingles when he had an idea. In 1976, while working on a disco song for a commercial, someone suggested he try updating classical music. Nobody had done it recently, and it might work. Murphy recorded a demo tape with 5 songs. 3 were ordinary pop songs. The 4th was a disco version of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. He mailed it to various record labels in New York, and most weren't interested. But Private Stock Records owner Larry Udall heard something special in that Beethoven adaptation. Murphy had played nearly all the instruments himself on the recording, but the label insisted it would sell better if credited to a group rather than an individual, so they called it Walter Murphy and the Big Apple Band. 2 days after release, they discovered there was already another Big Apple Band, which promptly changed its name to Chic. Later pressings credited it to Walter Murphy Band, then just Walter Murphy. The song debuted at number 80 on the Billboard Hot 100 in May 1976. It climbed steadily for 19 weeks until it finally hit number 1 in October. It stayed there for 1 week before being knocked off by Disco Doug. The record sold 2 million copies, and Murphy won a Grammy nomination for Best Instrumental Arrangement. Murphy never had another top 40 hit. His follow-up, Flight 76, based on Flight of the Bumblebee, only reached number 44. He kept trying to repeat the formula, recording disco versions of other classical pieces, but nothing worked. The closest he came again was in 1982 when themes from E.T. peaked at number 47. But Murphy found his calling elsewhere. He became a successful composer for television and films, eventually winning an Emmy for his work on Family Guy. He also received an Academy Award nomination in 2012 for the song Everybody Needs a Best Friend from the movie Ted. The disco experiment was brief, but it paid off in unexpected ways. Number 9. Turn the Beat Around by Vicki Sue Robinson. Vicki Sue Robinson was a Broadway performer who'd appeared in shows like Hair and Jesus Christ Superstar. She had theater credentials and a powerful voice, but she'd never had a hit record. That changed in 1976 when she recorded Turn the Beat Around, a song written by Gerald Jackson and Peter Jackson Jr. The song was pure disco energy. Robinson's vocal performance was passionate and commanding, driving the rhythm forward with infectious enthusiasm. The production featured prominent percussion, strings, and brass that created a sound impossible not to dance to. When it was released, disco was dominating the airwaves, and Turn the Beat Around fit perfectly into that moment. The single peaked at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1976. It also did well on the dance charts, where it became a club favorite. The song's success made Robinson a disco star, at least temporarily. She performed it on television shows and toured extensively throughout 1976 and 1977. But Robinson struggled to follow up that success. Her next single, Common Thief, didn't make the Hot 100 at all. Nothing else she released came close to matching Turn the Beat Around's popularity. She never reached the top 60 again on the pop charts, though she did have some success on the dance charts throughout the 1980s and 1990s. Robinson continued performing and recording through the decades. She remained active in the music scene, particularly in dance music circles. Sadly, she passed away in 2000 from cancer at age 45. Turn the Beat Around remains her legacy, still played at parties and in clubs, still getting people on the dance floor decades after her death. The song has been covered numerous times, most notably by Gloria Estefan in 1994, whose version became a hit in its own right. But the original belongs to Vicki Sue Robinson, capturing a perfect moment when disco was king and one Broadway performer got her shot at pop stardom. Number 8. Moonlight Feels Right by Starbuck. Starbuck was a rock band from Atlanta led by singer and keyboardist Bruce Blackman. They'd been playing the club circuit for years when they recorded Moonlight Feels Right in 1976. The song featured a distinctive marimba line played by Bo Wagner that became instantly recognizable. The sound was unusual for rock radio. That marimba gave it an exotic, almost tropical feel that stood out among the harder rock and disco, dominating the airwaves. Blackman's vocals were smooth and romantic, and the whole arrangement had a dreamy quality that captured listeners' attention. Released in early 1976, the song climbed to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. It stayed on the charts for months, becoming one of the year's biggest hits. The marimba hook was so catchy that once you heard it, you couldn't get it out of your head. Radio stations played it constantly throughout the spring and summer. But Starbuck couldn't replicate that success. They released several more albums and singles, but nothing else charted nearly as high. Their follow-up, Everybody Be Dancin', only reached number 38. After that, they struggled to get any airplay at all. The band went through various lineup changes and eventually broke up. Blackman reformed Starbuck in the 2000s with new members, and they continue performing today, mostly playing nostalgia circuit shows. But they're forever known as the Moonlight Feels Right Band. That one perfect song with the unforgettable marimba. Number 7. Shannon by Henry Gross. Henry Gross had been a member of Sha Na Na, the 50s revival group that played at Woodstock. He'd left that band to pursue a solo career, and for a while it wasn't going well. Then, in 1976, he wrote a song about a dog. Not just any dog, but Beach Boy Carl Wilson's Irish setter, Shannon, who had recently died. Gross wrote the song after Wilson told him about losing Shannon. The lyrics were straightforward and heartfelt, describing the beloved pet and the pain of her loss. The production was classic mid-70s soft rock. Acoustic guitars, strings, and Gross's earnest vocals front and center. Shannon was released as a single and began climbing the charts in spring 1976. By June, it had reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was impossible to escape that summer. Every time you turned on the radio, there was Henry Gross singing about a dead dog. The song polarized listeners. Some found it genuinely moving, a touching tribute to a beloved pet. Others found it mawkish and manipulative, the kind of cheap sentimentality that 70s soft rock was criticized for. Either way, it was everywhere. Gross tried to follow up with other singles, but none came close. He never reached the top 40 again. The song that made him famous also defined and limited his career. He became the guy who sang about the dead dog, and that was hard to move past. Mama tries hard to pretend. Decades later, Gross continues performing, playing shows around the country. He's made peace with Shannon being his signature song. It gave him a career, even if not quite the one he imagined. The song remains a perfect time capsule of mid-70s soft rock, for better or worse. Number 6. Fooled Around and Fell in Love by Elvin Bishop. Elvin Bishop was a blues rock guitarist who'd been in the music business for years. He'd played with the Paul Butterfield Blues Band in the 60s and had released several solo albums. But he'd never had a major hit until 1976, when he recorded Fooled Around and Fell in Love. The twist was that Bishop didn't sing lead on the song. That job went to Mickey Thomas, who sang with Bishop's band at the time. Thomas's voice was perfect for the material. Smooth, soulful, and capable of conveying both regret and longing. The song told the story of a player who unexpectedly falls for someone, catching himself off guard. The production was straightforward rock with R&B influences. Bishop's guitar work was tasteful and restrained, letting Thomas's vocal carry the emotional weight. The chorus was instantly memorable, and radio programmers loved it. Released in early 1976, the song climbed to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. It became one of the year's biggest hits, crossing over to multiple formats. Rock stations played it, pop stations played it, even some R&B stations gave it airplay. It was that rare song that appealed across different audiences. Bishop never came close to that level of success again. His follow-up singles barely charted. And within a couple of years, Mickey Thomas left to join Jefferson Starship, where he found greater success. Bishop continued making music and touring, respected as a guitarist, but never again as a hitmaker. The song remains a classic rock staple, played constantly on oldie stations. Most people hearing it today probably don't know who Elvin Bishop is, and many might not even know it's his song, but it's still there, still getting airplay 50 years later. Number 5. Let Your Love Flow by Bellamy Brothers. Howard and David Bellamy were two brothers from Florida who'd been trying to make it in music for years. They'd moved to Los Angeles in the early 70s, hoping to catch a break. In 1975, they met Neil Diamond's drummer, Dennis St. John, who brought them a demo of a song called Let Your Love Flow. The song had been written by Larry Williams, who worked as a roadie for Neil Diamond. It had been recorded once before by Gene Cotton, but that version went nowhere. The Bellamy brothers heard something in it, though. They recorded their version with Diamond's band backing them up. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream. The arrangement was sunny southern rock with country influences. The two brothers sang in harmony, their voices blending naturally together. The production was crisp and professional, giving the song a radio-friendly polish. Everything about it felt right. Released in early 1976, Let Your Love Flow became a phenomenon. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in May, and that was just the beginning. The song became massive internationally, topping charts in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Canada, and South Africa. In Germany alone, it stayed at number 1 for 8 weeks. The Bellamy brothers looked like they were on their way to becoming major stars, but their follow-up singles failed to chart. For 3 years, they couldn't buy a hit. It looked like they'd be forever remembered as one-hit wonders. Then in 1979, they released If I Said You Had a Beautiful Body, Would You Hold It Against Me? A jokey pickup line song that became a country hit. It only reached number 39 on the pop charts, but it went to number 1 on country radio. The Bellamy brothers found their home in country music and became country stars for the next 2 decades. But Let Your Love Flow remains their signature song. The one everyone knows, the reason they could tour worldwide for 50 years. One perfect pop song gave them a career that lasted a lifetime. Number 4. Afternoon Delight by Starlin Vocal Band. Bill Danoff and Taffy Nivert were a married couple who'd written Take Me Home, Country Roads for John Denver. That song's success gave them credibility, so when they formed Starlin Vocal Band with John Carroll and Margot Chapman, people paid attention. In 1976, they released Afternoon Delight, a song Danoff had written after seeing the phrase on a restaurant menu. The song was ostensibly about midday romance, though many listeners didn't immediately catch that it was about daytime sex. The harmonies were sweet and innocent sounding, which made the subject matter feel surprisingly wholesome. The song was catchy and radio-friendly, with a melody that stuck in your head. It reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in July 1976 and stayed there. The Starland vocal band suddenly found themselves with a massive hit and all the attention that came with it. They won 2 Grammy Awards, including Best New Artist, beating out Boston in that category. They even got their own television variety show on CBS. Everything was happening fast, and it seemed like they'd made it big. But the follow-ups didn't work. Nothing else they released came close to Afternoon Delight's success. Their TV show was canceled after just a few months. The group that had seemed so promising fell apart quickly. By 1981, they'd broken up, and both couples had divorced. The song itself became somewhat of a joke over the years, regularly appearing on lists of guilty pleasures and questionable hits. But it still played. Still recognized instantly, still making people smile or groan depending on their perspective. For the Starland vocal band, one song was all it took to secure a permanent place in 70s pop culture. Number 3, Welcome Back by John Sebastian.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
John Sebastian had been the frontman of the Lovin' Spoonful, one of the biggest bands of the mid-60s. They'd had multiple hits, including the #1 Summer in the City. But the Spoonful broke up in 1967, and Sebastian's solo career had been disappointing. By the mid-70s, he owed his label one more album and hadn't had a hit in years. Then he got a call from television producer Alan Sachs, who was creating a new sitcom about a teacher returning to his old high school. Sachs wanted a Lovin' Spoonful-type theme song. Sebastian tried writing a song called Cotter after the show's lead character, but couldn't make it work. The only thing that rhymed with Cotter was otter.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
So Sebastian wrote Welcome Back instead, a sunny tune that captured the show's themes in under a minute. Sachs liked it so much he changed the show's name to Welcome Back, Cotter. The show premiered in September 1975 and became an instant hit, launching John Travolta's career. Someone at ABC had the idea to release Welcome Back as a single. Sebastian stretched the song out to almost 3 minutes, added another verse, and recorded it with producer Steve Barry. It was released in March 1976 and shot up the charts, reaching #1 in May. It stayed there for a week. Sebastian's label rushed out an album built around the song, but Sebastian left the label as soon as his contract was fulfilled. He'd grown tired of how they'd treated him during his hitless years. Welcome Back ended up being his only solo hit, though he continued touring and occasionally recording. The song remains beloved, a perfect time capsule of 70s television themes. It's been sampled by rappers, covered by various artists, and still gets played whenever anyone needs a welcoming, nostalgic vibe. For Sebastian, it was a comeback that led nowhere else, but at least he got one more moment in the sun.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Number 2, Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry. Wild Cherry was a hard rock cover band from Ohio, playing clubs in the Pittsburgh area. They were struggling to book shows because disco was dominating and rock bands were having trouble finding work. Band leader Rob Parisi wanted to incorporate disco into their sets, but his bandmates resisted. They didn't want to be labeled a disco band. One night at the 2001 club in Pittsburgh, they were playing to a predominantly black audience. During a break, someone shouted at them, "Are you white boys going to play some funky music?" Parisi grabbed an order pad and wrote down the phrase. He went home and wrote the entire song in about 5 minutes.
And just when it hit me, somebody turned around and shouted.
The lyrics perfectly captured their situation. A boogie singer playing in a rock band who discovers disco is where the action is. Parisi recorded his best Sly Stone impression, adding funk guitar and brass that made the song irresistible. The band worried about the white boy lyrics, but Parisi insisted on keeping them. Play That Funky Music was released in April 1976. It started slow, debuting at number 80, but climbed steadily. By September, it hit #1 on both the pop and R&B charts. The single sold over 2 million copies, and their debut album went platinum. Wild Cherry won an American Music Award and received 2 Grammy nominations. They were named Billboard's Best Pop Group of the Year. Everything was going right, except that they couldn't follow it up. Their next singles failed to chart in the top 40, and none of their subsequent albums sold well. The band broke up in 1979, done in by their inability to repeat that one moment of magic. Parisi later became a smooth jazz artist, finding modest success in that genre. But Play That Funky Music remains huge. Still played at weddings and parties, still getting people on the dance floor 50 years later.
Everyone dancing and singing and moving to the grooving.
Number 1, Disco Duck by Rick Dees. Rick Dees was a Memphis disc jockey, not a musician. But in 1976, he saw disco dominating the charts and had an idea. What if he made duck sounds over a disco beat? The result was Disco Duck, possibly the silliest song to ever hit number 1. The recording was absurdly simple. Dees quacked like a duck over a basic disco rhythm. There was no sophistication, no musical complexity, just duck noises and a beat. The simplicity was part of the appeal for some listeners and exactly what made it unbearable for others. Released in April 1976, the song became a phenomenon. Kids loved it, which meant parents heard it constantly. It sold over 6 million copies worldwide and hit number 1 in October, staying there for a week. It knocked a Fifth of Beethoven off the top spot. The success was also the problem. Radio stations played it constantly. It became inescapable, and the backlash was swift. What had been amusing became annoying, then actively hated. The song represented everything people found ridiculous about disco. And when the anti-disco movement peaked a few years later, Disco Duck was held up as evidence of disco's worst excesses.
Look at me, I'm the disco duck.
Dees tried releasing follow-up singles, including Disc-Gorilla, but nothing worked. Each attempt just reinforced that he was the Disco Duck guy, and that wasn't a compliment. Fellow musicians refused to take him seriously. Radio stations that played the song often did so mockingly. Dees eventually gave up trying to be a recording artist and focused on radio, where he found substantial success. He became one of the most successful radio personalities in the country, hosting countdown shows for decades. But that brief moment as a pop star was something he could never quite escape or live down. Disco Duck remains one of the most mocked songs in pop music history. It regularly tops worst songs lists, and is used as an example of how wrong the 70s could go. But it's also undeniably memorable, and 50 years later, people still know exactly what you're talking about when you mention it. 1976 gave us some incredible music, and these one-hit wonders were part of that story. Some were genuinely talented artists who just couldn't catch lightning in a bottle twice. Others were novelties that wore out their welcome fast. But they all had that one moment when everything aligned perfectly, when they had the right song at the right time, and nothing could stop them from reaching the top of the charts. That's the magic and tragedy of being a one-hit wonder. If you enjoyed this look back at 1976, give us a like and subscribe for more music history. And tell us in the comments which of these songs you remember best.